Welcome to today's tutorial. Today, firstly, we want to look at charts. Microsoft Excel allows you to present your data and it also illustrates it using a chart. So say we want to illustrate this data that we have here using a chart. Having selected that range of data, we go to the charts group and then let's choose the recommended option first. In this recommended option, Excel presents recommended chart choices for you that Excel perceive is suitable with the data range that you have selected. So these are the ones we have in this context. We have the clustered column. We also have the stacked area column, the stacked column, as well as the stacked bar, and so on. But if you're not comfortable with that, there are a couple of options here for you to choose from to illustrate your data as well. But in this case, let's go with Excel with the clustered column, and then we hit the OK button, and here we have our charts as well. Let's undo that. So this being our charts, I'm going to zoom in for us to learn more about charts. So let's assume this is my charts that I have. And as we know, we can influence the appearance of these charts. First, we can choose from the default style here, the ready-made one, in quotes I may call ready-made. As you hover your mouse through, you're going to see ready-made styles. It will appear when you click on any of them. Your chart style and appearance will change to that previewed one. Aside from that, you can also influence your chart by using the color. We have different kinds of color. We have these colorful styles, and then we have the monogrammatic theme. So you could use a color combination theme, and then you could use a palette that contains maybe, let's say, a blue color and so on. Then we could also use the teal green color and so on. We also have the monogrammatic palettes. This palette will present colors that shades to the darker part of it. So it starts from a dark down to the lighter part. And then we also have options here for us to customize our charts by adding the features, say the elements. Currently, we have a default chart title element, so we can select that, and then let's call this one year reports. Year reports. And so we can add other features to it, such as the axis title. Let's say we want to add the vertical axis title. We call this income. Let's call this income. And then we're going to call this one the company. And then we go there, and then we choose the axis, the horizontal axis here. We clear what we have there, and we call this company. There we go. So with that, you see we can add other elements. There's also options. Aside from going through this, you can simply click on this plus icon here, and then you have elements here for you to enable. And as you hover your mouse through, you're going to see a preview of those elements as well appearing. And then the next thing we want to look at is the format of that chart. Let's format this chart. In other words, let's influence the appearance. We could also influence the background of this chart by using any of the color. Let's select this, and then we influence by using any of the color. We can as well use the gradient option. We have the darker variations and the lighter one, and so on. Let's settle with this for now. And then we can also influence the colors of the bar. Of course, we can influence these particular boundaries. We could say, let's have a color, say this, and then we go to a gradient of that color as well. Let's still maintain something lighter, and then let's influence the bars. Now take note of this. When you want to influence the bars that made up the chart, if you select it once, let's say the yellow one that I've selected, if you select it once, you'll be able to influence the color filling of that category across the entire series. So if I choose a color for it, say I want to have this. If I have this orange color for it, it will change it to orange across the entire chart. Likewise, if I want to influence the outline of it, the outline simply means the line binding or forming it. So I could choose to have a purple color for it, and then that line, I could also influence the thickness of that line, in other words, the line width, and as well as the line style. I could also influence the line style. Furthermore, you can as well influence this by using textures. You can also influence this by using texture as well if you want to use texture. The same thing with the background. You can influence it by using texture as well if you want to use texture. So let's move on. Let's undo that and then we move on. So now we want to see how we can switch the row. So having selected the chart, we now go to the contextual tab, the chart design option, and then we can switch the row. You notice that this category will now change to become series, and the series as well will then change to become the category. So we click on switch the row button, and then you notice January now comes here, February, and so on, while we have cement, rice, and fertilizer. We click that again, it will return to cement coming this way, and while January then coming this way. So let us zoom out so we can see what happened in detail. Aside from that, we can as well select this chart and then come to the edit, select data option, and then we're going to have options to influence the switch row here. So you can simply switch the row, and so on. Then you can also enable or disable what you want that it appears as well. You can check and uncheck that. But you can also use these options here. If you double click this, you're going to have options here. And then this will give you a room to check and uncheck as well. And then you apply when you uncheck what you want to and check what you want to. Of course, there's option to select all, and then you apply. Of course, what you must know is that immediately you start working on a chart, these three options will appear for you to at ease make any influence or make changes or format the chart as the case may be. Then in addition to that, you can also influence this in the bars or the charts in detail by double clicking this. If you don't have it, let's assume you don't have this, you double click this and this will come out. You're going to have options for you to influence each of this, the glow, the soft edges, and so on, that which I've shown you in this using this ribbon. You can also influence the text as well. When you click the text here, you have options to influence what happened there. So next we want to learn how to move our charts. So here we are on sheet number 1, so we can move our charts to the next sheet in this project, say sheet number 2. So that we have to click on the move charts icon, and then the move charts dialog box will appear, and then giving us room to define our destination. So I haven't choose that sheet number 2, and then we click OK. So here we are on sheet number 2. The chart has then moved to sheet number 2. Let's go back to sheet 1. So next we want to insert a table into our Microsoft Excel project. So I go to the insert menu, and then I define the range of cells that I want to be incorporated into the table. And so I will then hit the table icon, and then the create table dialog box will appear. Now, this check, if I allow this to be, it therefore means that Microsoft Excel will recognize this header. It will incorporate it. But if I uncheck it, it will create a new header below it. So let's leave it at that and then hit the OK button. So here we have the contextual table design tab appearing, and then giving us icons or commands to influence our table design as well. So here we have table designs. As we hover amounts through it, you'll notice the different previews and how they look like. And then we can settle on any of this. And then we're going to have options to further format or customize it. In terms of branded rows, this is what we mean by banded rows. Banded rows. So if I uncheck banded rows, of course, you notice there's only one color left. But if I enable the banded rows, they're going to be a shader and a lighter or variations of the rows as the case may be. So if I also disable the banded rows and then I enable the banded columns, so you also notice the same thing running across vertically as well. There's also rooms for us to emphasize the first column. Here you notice, and then there's also room to emphasize the last column if we so want to. Aside from that, we can as well put our cursor on any of the cell and influence the content of the cell of the table as well. Let's say we want to call this company. And so we can as well influence the font size, the font type. We can as well select all at once, the entire row, and influence the font size, the font style, and so on as the case may be. So now we want to learn how to influence our cells. Let's say we have this particular cell here, and then we want to format it. We can format the cell in terms of height. We can increase the height of it. Let's say we want to define a height of it. Currently we are on 14. Let's say we want to have 16 as a height. So you see it increases. And then if we want to go further as regards the height, let's say we want to have 22, and then you notice it increases. The same thing applies with the row. If we want to influence a row, the column, the column width, we want to influence the column width, so we can have it as 15. So that particular column will be increased as well. Aside from that, we could have autofill of the heights of the row as well as the autofill of the height of the column. So in this case, let's autofill the heights of the row. So you see across boards is equal, aligning with the text. The same thing applies with the width of the column. So it will align with the contents of the column as well. Aside from that, we can as well sort any data of our interest. Let's say we want to sort the content of this cell, and then we select this table all, and then we go to sorting under editing, and then we can sort alphabetically. So you see alphabetically downward, and then we can also sort it on the descending order as well. So not only ascending order, we can as well sort it on the descending order as well. Then we could also sort a number. Let's say we have this, and then there's room for us to sort from the highest to the smallest as the case may be. Thank you so much for your time. Please do ensure to subscribe, to like, to share, and this will encourage us. And drop a comment on anything you want us to learn together in Excel, and then we will attend to that. Thank you so much once again, and remain abundantly bless.